Rain poured down from the dark sky, heavy and cold, soaking the narrow metal streets of the colony town. Neon lights flickered weakly through the mist. Painting the puddles in blue and pink colors, the city was silent, except for the sound of thunder rolling above, and the quiet sobs of a small human girl sitting alone under a broken lamp. Her name was Lena, and she could not have been older than 9. Her clothes were too thin for the cold. Her shoes were full of holes, and her small hands held a wooden box tightly against her chest. Inside that box were her only treasures, her toys, old and cracked, some missing eyes or arms, but loved dearly. She wiped her tears with her sleeve and whispered to herself, "Please, someone buy them. Please." Her mother was sick, too sick to stand, and the medicine she needed cost more than Lena could ever earn. The factory where her mother had worked had burned down last winter, and after that, nothing had been the same. A tall shadow passed at the end of the alley. Lena looked up and froze, because the figure that stepped closer was not human. It was an alien, tall and covered in a long cloak that shimmered in the rain. His skin had faint scales that glowed faintly green under the light, and his eyes, deep golden, watched her with strange curiosity. He was a merchant from the outer worlds, one of those who came to Earth to trade strange things. Machines, crystals, or trinkets from faraway planets. He stopped when he saw her and tilted his head slightly. "What are you doing here, little one?" the alien asked in a voice soft but echoing, like a deep wind in a cave. Lena stood up quickly and bowed her head, too afraid to look directly at him. "Please, sir, please buy my toys," she said, lifting the box with trembling hands. The alien frowned, confused. "Your toys?" "Yes," she said, voice breaking. "Take them. I need money for my mother's medicine." For a moment, the rain was the only sound. The alien, whose name was Rilna, looked down at the soaked child before him. He was a trader of metals and rare stones, not a man who cared much for humans. But something in the child's eyes, something desperate and brave, caught him. He knelt down slowly, his cloak brushing the ground, and opened the box. Inside were small things: a cracked doll with missing hair, a metal bird that no longer sang, and a hand-drawn star map on an old piece of paper. Rilna picked up the map and studied it. "These stars," he said softly. "You drew them?" Lena nodded quickly. "Yes, sir, I copied them from the night sky before the clouds came. My mama used to tell me stories about the bright ones, the ones only aliens can visit." Her voice trembled at the word aliens, afraid she might offend him. But Rilna only looked at her longer. His expression unreadable, he asked, "Where is your mother now?" "At home," Lena whispered. "She can't move anymore. She's coughing all the time. The doctor said we need medicine from the upper city, but I don't have enough credits." She looked down at the box again and added, "So I thought maybe someone would buy my toys." Rilna's golden eyes softened. He had seen poverty before, even on his own world. But there was something cruel in the way humans treated their own. He wanted to walk away. He told himself it wasn't his problem. But his feet wouldn't move. He reached into his pouch and took out a small silver coin, one that glowed faintly in the dark. "This is worth more than your toys," he said. "Take it." Lena stepped back, shaking her head. "No, I can't take it for free, sir. Mama said we must never take without giving." Rilna almost smiled, surprised by the child's honesty. "Then," he said gently, "you will sell me this?" He pointed at the broken metal bird. "What is its story?" Lena's face lit up a little. "It was my father's," she said. "He made it before he went to the war. It used to sing when you pressed its wings, but now it's broken. I tried to fix it, but I don't have the right tools." Rilna turned the little bird in his large clawed hands. Inspecting it carefully, he could see tiny human craftsmanship, simple but clever. He nodded and placed the coin in her hand. "Then I buy it." Lena looked at the glowing coin in disbelief, her eyes filling with tears again. "Thank you, sir." "Thank you," she whispered, pressing the coin close to her chest. Rilna stood up, his tall form blocking the rain above her, and said, "Go home, little one. Buy what your mother needs. But tomorrow come to my shop. I might have work for you." "Work?" Lena asked softly. "Yes," Rilna replied. "If you can draw stars, perhaps you can help me with something." She nodded eagerly, wiping her face before leaving. She looked up once more and said, "You're kind. Alien uncle." Rilna froze at the words. No one had ever called him that before. As she disappeared into the rainy night, clutching her coin and box, The alien stood alone under the flickering streetlight. He looked down at the broken bird in his hand, pressed its wing gently and whispered, "You gave me more than I gave you, little human." The rain fell harder, washing the dirt from the streets, but in that quiet alley, something new had begun, a bond between two souls from different worlds. And though neither knew it yet, that single trade would change the fate of both forever. When morning came, the rain had stopped, but the street still smelled of rust and smoke. Rilna walked through the old colony town, his cloak brushing against the wet ground. He was not sure why he was doing this. He had traded with humans before, but never gone to their homes, never cared to learn their names, yet that night, he could not stop thinking about the little girl with the toy box and her quiet courage. He followed the small trail she had left behind, a few footprints through the mud and the faint smell of burned oil. Soon he reached a narrow street of half-broken houses. The walls were cracked, windows covered with cloth instead of glass. Children played silently, their faces thin and tired. The humans here lived like shadows, forgotten by the higher cities floating above the smog. Rilna stopped before a small door made of metal sheets tied with wire. He knocked gently after a pause. A weak voice answered from inside, "Who's there?" "It's Rilna," he said, his voice low. "The one who bought your daughter's toy." There was silence for a moment. Then the door creaked open just a little. Lena's small face appeared, her eyes widening in surprise. "Alien uncle." She pushed the door wider, smiling shyly. "You came inside." The room was small and cold. The walls were patched with old posters and blankets, and a weak heater flickered near the corner. A thin woman lay on a bed, coughing softly, her skin pale and her hair falling out in strands. "Ma," Lena whispered, running to her. "He's the one who helped us last night." The woman tried to sit up and smiled weakly. "I'm sorry, sir, I can't offer you anything warm. We ran out of fuel." Rilna shook his head. "You owe me nothing," he said, his golden eyes scanning the room. He noticed something strange. The shelves were filled with papers, drawings and small metal pieces. Some were blueprints, others star maps. Rough but detailed, he stepped closer and picked up one of the papers. It showed a rough design of an energy battery made from scrap metal. "You made this?" he asked. Lena nodded proudly. "Mama taught me to fix small things. We used to work together before she got sick." The woman smiled faintly. "She has her father's hands," she said, her voice soft but full of pride. Rilna turned his eyes to her. "Her father?" The woman's expression changed slightly, sad but distant. "He worked in the military labs," she whispered, "before the explosion. They said he died, but they never sent the body." She coughed again, clutching her chest. Rilna placed a small glass vial on the table, a glowing blue liquid that shimmered like starlight. "Drink this," he said gently. "It is medicine from my world. It will ease the pain." The woman hesitated, but Lena nodded quickly. "Please, Mama, try it." After a few moments, the woman's breathing softened, and color returned slightly to her face. Rilna stood quietly, watching them. He had seen sickness before, but not this kind of human struggle. No help, no doctors, no light in his world. Even the poorest had healers here. They had only each other. Lena walked to her small wooden box again and began sorting her toys. She looked up shyly and said, "I still have more things to sell if you want." Rilna chuckled softly. "You still want to sell your toys?" She nodded, serious and innocent. "Mama needs food now and medicine later. I can't stop yet." For a long moment, Rilna didn't answer. He looked around at the drawings on the walls, the constellations, the alien runes she had copied. This child was learning without a teacher. He realized she was not just bright, she was gifted, a rare human with the mind to understand alien logic, something most adults failed to do even with years of training. He reached into his pouch again, pulling out a small tool made of silver metal, glowing faintly along its edge. "This is an alien repair scanner," he said, placing it in her hand. "Try fixing your bird." Lena blinked in surprise, her small fingers trembling as she held the tool. She looked at her broken toy bird, touched the scanner to its wing, and the machine hummed softly. Tiny sparks danced, the metal shifted, and the bird blinked its little glass eye for the first time in years. It made a soft chirping sound, a weak song, but alive. Lena gasped, her face lighting up like a sunrise. "It's singing. It's singing again." Her mother covered her mouth, eyes full of tears. Even Rilna, who had seen wonders of distant galaxies, felt a warmth in his chest. He smiled quietly and said, "You have a gift?" "Little one." But in his heart a strange thought stirred. How could a human child use alien tech so easily? He didn't say it aloud, but something was not normal here. Maybe it was fate that he found her. Or maybe something deeper, something dangerous still. As he watched Lena laugh and hug her small bird, Rilna knew one thing for sure. He could not walk away now, this girl, this broken home. And that little box of toys, they had already found a place inside his alien heart. And for the first time in many years, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. The next morning, the first sunlight touched the colony town through the thick, gray clouds. The air smelled of oil and smoke, mixed with a faint sweetness from the alien merchant's spices that drifted through the street. Rilna's small repair shop sat between two tall, rusted towers, a forgotten corner of the trade district, filled with strange machines and humming wires inside. Rilna was polishing an old plasma battery when the door creaked open. Tiny footsteps echoed and a soft voice said, "Excuse me, alien uncle. You said I could come today." It was Lena carrying her toy box again. Her small face glowing with nervous excitement, Rilna turned and gave a rare smile. "You remembered." She nodded quickly. "Mama said I should thank you again. She feels better after your medicine." Rilna tilted his head, hiding his surprise. "She is recovering that fast?" "Yes," Lena said proudly. "She slept all night without coughing. She even smiled this morning." Her joy was pure, bright like sunlight breaking through the gloom, and Rilna felt something stir inside him again. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He gestured to the counter, where piles of broken devices lay scattered. "Do you really want to work?" he asked, testing her resolve. Lena nodded without hesitation. "Yes, sir. I want to earn my own money. I don't want charity." Rilna's golden eyes softened. He had heard those words before, from adults, from warriors, from survivors, but never from a child so small. "All right," he said finally. "Then today, you learn how to fix a solar unit." He placed a metal disc on the table. Dull and cracked, its wires tangled like roots. "Try to open this," he said. Handing her a small screwdriver, Lena bit her lip. Carefully turning the screws with slow precision, her small hands trembled at first, but her focus was sharp. Her eyes followed every wire, every joint when she lifted the outer shell. She gasped softly. "It's like a tiny heart inside." Rilna blinked, impressed by her words. "A heart?" "Yes," she said, smiling shyly. "It beats with light instead of blood." He laughed quietly, a deep, echoing sound like thunder rolling far away. "You see things differently, child," he said. "That's good. Machines need eyes that can imagine." For the next few hours, Lena worked beside him. She listened carefully to every instruction, memorized each tool, and even named them in her own way: the long beak, the flat tongue, and the whisper key. By noon, she had fixed her first small part, a wire link that even Rilna had given up on. He stared at her work in silence. "You fixed it, right?" Lena smiled proudly, her fingers still dirty with grease. "I just followed the rhythm, sir. It felt right." That word, rhythm, echoed in his mind. Only engineers born on his world spoke like that. He studied her carefully again, her eyes bright with strange intelligence. "Who taught you this?" he asked, his tone calm but sharp. She shrugged. "No one. I just look at things and understand them, like they talk to me in my head." Rilna's scales shifted uneasily, glowing faintly under his cloak. No normal human child should sense machine energy that way. It was like she was tuned to frequencies that belonged to his kind. He said nothing more, but deep inside he knew. This was no ordinary meeting. Fate had placed this child in his path for a reason. When the day ended, he handed her a few glowing coins. She stared at them, unsure. "I don't want to take too much," Rilna chuckled. "You earned it. Little engineer." She looked down at the coins in awe, then carefully tucked them inside her toy box beside the broken doll. Before leaving, she hesitated at the door and asked softly, "Alien uncle, why are you helping me?" Rilna froze. He thought of his past, the lives he had seen lost in wars, the orphans he had ignored while chasing profit. Maybe this was his chance to do something right. "Even if only once, I don't know yet," he said honestly. "Maybe because you reminded me what kindness looks like." She smiled, a small sincere smile, and whispered, "Then I'll come tomorrow again." When she left, the shop felt strangely quiet. Rilna looked at the workbench. At the small solar unit now shining faintly with light, he sat back and let out a slow breath. Humans, he murmured, always full of surprises. But as he reached for his data pad to log the repairs, he noticed something impossible. The unit Lena had touched showed alien energy readings, frequencies that no human should be able to produce. He stared at the glowing symbols, his chest tightening. She's not supposed to do that, he whispered to himself. No human child can. Outside, in the fading light, Lena walked home humming softly, her toy box held close. The same box that now faintly pulsed with the same glow as the alien device. Neither she nor her mother knew that something deep within her blood had awakened that day. And from that moment on, she was no longer just a poor human girl. She was the spark of something the galaxy had long forgotten. Something powerful enough to change everything. Night settled over the colony again, thick clouds hiding the moon and stars. The streets glowed faintly from neon lights, and the sound of far-off engines echoed like a heartbeat through the metal alleys. Inside the small repair shop, the alien merchant Rilna sat alone at his workbench. Staring at a datapad filled with strange readings, the numbers made no sense, not unless the human girl was something other than human. He looked toward the small toy bird sitting beside him. It chirped softly, glowing with a faint blue light that hadn't been there before Lena touched it. He pressed the scanner against it again. The same result appeared. Alien resonance detected. The tool recognized Lena's touch as alien-coded energy, something only his kind could produce. He leaned back, his golden eyes narrowing in thought. Impossible, he murmured. No human child can channel energy through metal, not without a link. His mind returned to her father, the man who worked in military labs, the one who never returned. He remembered the woman's weak voice saying they never sent a body, and then it hit him like a thunderclap. What if he wasn't human either? The next morning, Lena arrived early again, full of smiles and excitement. She carried a small bag with her mother's lunch, and the toy bird perched proudly on her shoulder, chirping every few seconds. Good morning, alien uncle, she said cheerfully. Rilna turned, hiding the worry in his eyes behind a calm expression. Good morning, little engineer, he said, forcing a small smile. But deep inside, his thoughts twisted like smoke. He decided to test her quietly, without her knowing. Lena, he said, pointing to a large box in the corner. Inside there's a small device with a red mark. Bring it here. She opened the box and reached in, pulling out a sleek metal cube. When her fingers touched it, the cube lit up instantly with a blue pulse. Rilna froze. It was a data core, a piece of alien technology that only responded to neural energy from his species, and it responded to her like she was one of them. Lena didn't notice his shock. She just smiled innocently. Here it is. I think it likes me. Rilna took it carefully, his hands trembling slightly. Yes. It seems so, he whispered. He turned away before she could see the fear in his eyes. The universe had laws, and one of those laws said human and alien DNA could never merge successfully. But now, standing before him was living proof that someone had broken that law. Later that day, while Lena worked on fixing an old heater, Rilna stepped into the back room to send a coded message. Contacting Trader Circle, the console blinked. He hesitated, his claw hovering over the keys. If he reported her, he would be rewarded. Hybrid existence was valuable to the consortium, but if they found her, she would be taken, studied, and never seen again. He shut the console off, chest tightening. No, he whispered, she's just a child. Not their experiment. When he came back out, Lena was humming softly, fixing the heater with steady hands. The warm light touched her face, and for a moment, Rilna forgot about the danger and just watched her work. She was focused, her brow furrowed in determination. Mama will be warm tonight, she said with a grin. Rilna smiled faintly. You've done better than most engineers I've hired. Just then, the front door creaked open. Two strange figures entered, men in gray coats with metallic implants around their eyes. They spoke in hushed voices, scanning the shop with cold gazes. We heard you've been hiring humans, alien, one said, his tone sharp. Rilna's eyes narrowed. What of it? The man smirked. Be careful. The Purity Consortium doesn't like aliens mixing with lower species. There are rumors of illegal breeding, and experiments resurfacing. Lena froze behind the counter, her small hands clutching her bag. Rilna stepped forward, his voice low and steady. This is a repair shop, not a lab. The men exchanged looks and left, but not before one of them glanced at Lena with suspicion. Rilna waited until the door closed before speaking. "Lena, go home early today." "But uncle, do as I say." His voice was calm, but there was weight behind it. She nodded slowly, sensing something was wrong, and left quietly, her toy bird chirping sadly as she disappeared into the foggy street. When Rilna turned back to the desk, he felt his claws trembling. He knew now that others were searching. Someone had leaked information. The Purity Consortium hunted hybrids like predators chased prey. If they learned about Lena, they'd come for her and her mother next. He opened the scanner one more time and looked at the readings glowing on the screen. Alien code mixed with human DNA, forming patterns that should not exist. "She's not just a child," he said softly. "She's a bridge between two worlds, and outside." The city lights flickered and thunder rolled again. Rilna closed the blinds, locking the doors, his mind racing. He had found something the galaxy had tried to erase, and he knew from that moment on, protecting Lena would not just be kindness, it would be war. Because secrets like hers never stayed hidden for long. The storm returned 2 nights later, thick clouds swallowing the colony's sky. The rain hammered on the rooftops, washing away the streetlights until only shadows remained. Rilna's shop was dark except for a single lamp, glowing faintly over a pile of half-finished machines. He stood by the window, his eyes scanning the street, his senses alert. He could feel it, the city was no longer safe. Something in the air had changed since those men from the Purity Consortium visited. Their words still echoed in his head like poison. They were searching for hybrids, children born from forbidden experiments. Children like Lena. He had already heard whispers among the other merchants. Talk of patrols moving through the lower district, of scanners capable of reading alien resonance hidden inside human DNA, and of one little girl seen carrying glowing toys through the slums. Rilna clenched his fists, his claws digging into the counter. He knew it was only a matter of time before they came for her. He couldn't let that happen. Not after everything she had done. Not after the light she had brought into his cold, lonely shop. The door creaked open suddenly, and a small voice broke through the silence. "Alien uncle?" It was Lena, soaked from the rain, her face pale and frightened. Behind her, the toy bird was silent, its glow dimmed. Rilna hurried forward. "Lena, what are you doing out here?" She caught her breath and said, "They came to our house. 2 men with black masks. They asked about Mama, about me." Rilna's eyes hardened. He quickly locked the door and lowered the window shutters. "Are they still there?" "I don't know," Lena whispered. "Mama told me to run. She said to find you." Rilna placed his hands gently on her shoulders, his voice calm but firm. "Then we will not waste time." He moved swiftly through the shop, pulling open secret panels in the floor. Lena watched as he revealed a hidden compartment filled with old alien tools and a small backpack. "What is this?" she asked. "Emergency gear," he replied. "We'll leave the city tonight." As he packed, he explained softly, "There are people who hate what they don't understand. They fear anything that mixes human and alien blood." Lena frowned. "But why? I didn't do anything wrong." Rilna looked down at her, sadness filling his eyes. "No, little one. You didn't. But to them you are proof that their perfect world can change, and that's what terrifies them most before they could leave." The ground shook with a low, distant rumble. Rilna froze, listening. Then came the sound of engines, the sharp hum of hovercrafts closing in. He looked out through a narrow gap in the shutter, and his worst fear was confirmed. 3 black hover transports hovered above the alley, their searchlights sweeping across the buildings. Armored soldiers jumped out, their faces hidden behind mirrored helmets. Each one carried scanners glowing blue in the rain. "They found us," Rilna said quietly. "Stay behind me." He moved to the back door, grabbing his plasma rifle from the wall. It was old, dented, but still deadly. Lena clutched her toy box close to her chest, her small body trembling. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," Rilna said softly. "But fear is what tells us we're still alive. Hold on to it, but don't let it stop you." The first explosion shook the front door. Tearing it off its hinges, the soldiers stormed in, shouting commands in the consortium's cold metallic language. Rilna fired once, blue plasma lit the darkness. Cutting through the rain, a soldier fell, his armor sizzling. "Go, Lena!" "Through the back!" Rilna roared. She hesitated, tears filling her eyes. "What about you?" "I'll follow, now go." She ran through the narrow back tunnel that led into the old sewer passages beneath the city. Behind her, the ground shook again as plasma fire filled the air. Rilina fought like a storm, silent, deadly, moving with alien precision. He didn't kill to win, only to buy her time. But there were too many. Dozens of them, their armor glowing with the insignia of purity. As smoke filled the shop, one soldier barked, "Where is the hybrid alien?" Rilna's voice thundered back, "Gone where you'll never reach her." He pressed a hidden switch beneath the counter. The entire building pulsed with light. A surge of electromagnetic energy exploded outward, knocking out every scanner and drone in a 2-block radius. The soldiers stumbled, disoriented by the time they recovered. The back passage was empty. Lena was gone, vanished into the storm far beneath the city. The girl crawled through the narrow tunnels, her hands shaking, her toy bird still clutched tightly. She could still hear the faint echoes of explosions far above. "Mama, alien uncle," she whispered when she finally reached the open air again. The city behind her was burning. Smoke rose into the dark sky and the rain turned it into ash. She turned back one last time and whispered, "I'll come back for you." High above, the Purity Consortium ships circled like vultures, searching for heat signatures, but they would find nothing. Rilina's pulse wave had erased her trail completely. The alien merchant was gone, his shop reduced to glowing embers, yet even in death, he had done what he promised. He had protected her. And as Lena disappeared into the wastelands beyond the colony walls, the small toy bird in her hands flickered once, then began to hum, a secret signal, a hidden code only she could understand. It was Rilna's voice, faint but clear. "Run far, little star, and don't look back." The sun rose like fire over the wasteland. Red light spilled across the dunes, burning the sand into gold. Far beyond the ruins of the colony, a small figure walked barefoot through the dust, clutching a toy box tight against her chest. It was Lena, her face streaked with dirt and dried tears. Her mother lay unconscious on the hover cart behind her, covered in a tattered blanket. Beside them hummed a small drone, the last gift from Rilna, the alien who had given his life to save them. The drone projected a soft blue light to guide them through the wasteland. Every few minutes it repeated the same voice message. Rilna's voice, calm, patient, filled with warmth. "Follow the northern ridge. There is a bunker beyond the black stones. You'll find what you need there." Lena followed, step by step, too tired to speak. The storm the night before had destroyed everything she had known. Her home, her town, her safety. But she didn't cry anymore, because she remembered what Rilna had told her before the last fight. When the world falls apart, build something better from the pieces. Hours passed under the blazing sun. Lena stopped only to check on her mother, whose breathing was shallow but steady. Her small hands trembled as she wiped the sweat from her mother's forehead. "Just a little more, Mama," she whispered. "Alien Uncle said there's water ahead," the toy bird chirped softly, still glowing faintly, its circuits somehow alive even after the blast. It wasn't just a toy anymore, it carried something else inside it, a signal, a guide, maybe even a part of Rilna himself by midday. She reached the black stones, a line of tall, ancient pillars carved long ago by alien settlers at their base, hidden under layers of dust. She found a hatch marked with Rilna's symbol. Her small fingers brushed across it, and the metal came alive, glowing in response to her touch. With a hiss, the hatch opened, revealing a tunnel leading underground. Inside, the air was cool and clean. Lena pushed her hover cart through, one careful step at a time, until the tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with soft blue light. It was a sanctuary, walls lined with alien technology. Humming gently like a heartbeat, crystals floated in the air, giving off warmth and energy. In the center stood a healing pod, the kind Rilna once told her about. Used to save lives on distant planets, she placed her mother inside. Following the instructions Rilna had left on the console, when she pressed the final button, the pod sealed with a soft hum, and the woman's breathing deepened. For the first time in days, her mother looked peaceful. Lena collapsed beside the pod, exhausted. The toy bird landed beside her, chirping twice before going silent. In that quiet, she finally let the tears fall. She had lost her father and now Rilna too, but somehow she could still hear his voice in her heart. The gentle rumble of his alien tone saying, "You have light in your hands, little one. Never hide it." She wiped her eyes and stood, her small body ached. But she forced herself to move again, exploring the bunker. There were machines she didn't understand. Tall, silver structures with glowing veins of energy running through them. On a nearby table, she found a recording device still flashing. When she pressed play, Rilna's face appeared as a hologram. "Lena," his voice said softly, "if you're seeing this, I'm gone. The consortium won't stop until they find you, but I've hidden you well, and if you wish to survive, you must learn who you truly are." The hologram flickered, showing an image of a lab, her father's lab, the same one her mother once spoke about. "Your father was one of the scientists who tried to bridge human and alien life. He didn't die in the explosion, he became the experiment. You carry both his worlds inside you." Lena's breath caught. Her heart pounded as she stared at her small hands glowing faintly blue under the light. So it was true. She wasn't just human. She wasn't alien either. She was something in between, something new. The hologram ended with one last line. "Use your gift to heal, not to destroy. The galaxy needs balance, and you are that balance." Lena sat for a long moment, staring at the empty space where Rilna's image had been. Then she took a deep breath and began to work. She studied the machines, watched how the light pulsed through their veins. Her hands moved instinctively, guided by memory and something deeper, an understanding that didn't need words. Within hours, she restored the power grid, repaired the drone's damaged circuits, and even upgraded the toy bird into a full communication unit. Each spark of light she created felt like a promise. To Rilna, to her mother, to the father she never knew. Outside, night returned. The stars shone cold and endless above the desert. But inside the hidden bunker, light bloomed again. Warm, bright, alive, Lena stood at the entrance. Her small figure framed by the glow. She whispered into the wind, "Alien uncle, I'll make it mean something. I promise." Far away on the edge of the horizon, 3 Purity drones scanned the sands, searching for any trace of her. But every time they neared, the desert shimmered with a strange field of energy. Her energy, hiding the bunker from their sight. She had learned fast, she had learned to survive. And as the night grew colder, Lena sat beside her mother's healing pod. Holding her glowing toy bird, its soft hum filled the silence. And though she was alone, she no longer felt afraid, because now she understood what Rilna had meant. Sometimes, the smallest light in the darkest desert is enough to guide the stars themselves. Years passed. The desert that once swallowed the colony was now silent, reclaimed by wind and time, but far above it, beyond the reach of dust or war, a ship moved gracefully through the stars. Its hull was silver and blue, marked with an insignia that combined 2 symbols, one alien, one human, intertwined like a promise. And at its helm stood a young woman with bright eyes that reflected starlight itself. Her name was Lena Rilnara. She was no longer the frightened child who once sold toys in the rain. She had grown into a commander, a builder, and a legend whispered through trade routes and outposts across the galaxy. The engineers called her the Starlight, the one who could heal machines with her touch. The soldiers called her the Bridge, because where she walked, humans and aliens spoke without war, but to herself. She was still just Lena, the girl who had once begged under a broken lamp, holding a toy box and a dream. On her ship, the Horizon's Dawn, she kept that same box on her desk. Inside were the remnants of her past, the broken doll, the metal bird, the star map she once drew, and one single glowing coin, the first one Rilna ever gave her. Every time she touched it, she felt warmth, as if the alien merchant spirit still guided her through the stars. That night, as her ship floated near the rim of the Andros Nebula, a soft alarm echoed through the bridge. "Captain," said her pilot, a reptilian alien with gentle eyes, "we're picking up distress signals. From a human freighter." Lena turned toward the viewport, watching faint lights blink through the swirling clouds of blue gas. "How far?" 3 clicks, but there's something strange. The signal is old, decades old. Her heart skipped. "Bring us closer," she said as they approached. The ship came into view, a broken freighter drifting silently, half buried in the glowing mist. Its name still faintly visible on the side, Seraph 1. Lena's hands trembled. That was the ship her father had worked on, the one that supposedly exploded years ago. They docked in silence, the airlock hissing open. Lena stepped inside with her crew, her boots echoing in the hollow corridors. Dust floated like ghosts in the air, and the walls were covered in frost. Her scanner flickered with faint energy signatures deep within the wreck, following the trail. She found a sealed chamber marked with alien symbols, the same as Rilna's. She placed her hand on the lock and it glowed blue beneath her touch. The door slid open with a slow hiss. Inside was a single stasis pod. Cracked but still functional inside the pod floated a man. His hair was silver, his skin pale but marked with faint alien patterns across his arms. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Father?" The pod lights blinked weakly and the man's eyes opened. Half human brown, half golden like Rilna's. He looked at her for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "You found me," he said weakly, his voice rough but full of awe. Lena fell to her knees beside the pod, tears falling freely. "I thought you were dead." They said, "I almost was," he whispered, "but he saved me. Your alien uncle. He said one day my daughter would find the stars." Her heart clenched. Even in death, Rilna had kept his promise to protect her. To guide her to this very moment, Lena activated the restoration protocol, transferring her father to her ship's medbay. As the engines roared to life again, the nebula outside shimmered with light, as if the universe itself was welcoming them home later. When the chaos quieted and her father rested peacefully, Lena stood by the viewport alone, staring at the endless expanse ahead. She whispered softly, "I made it, alien uncle, just like you said I would." The stars outside flickered, and for a fleeting moment, one of them blinked brighter, a single pulse of golden light. It was almost as if Rilna himself had answered. She smiled through her tears. Her crew joined her, a mix of humans and aliens, soldiers and engineers from both worlds. They looked to her for guidance, for unity, for hope, and she gave it freely. "Set course for the new frontier," she said, her voice steady. "We build where others broke. We heal what they ruined. That's our mission." The engines hummed, the ship turned, and the horizon's dawn shot forward into the glowing sea of stars. As the galaxy stretched before them, Lena touched the small coin hanging around her neck. It still shimmered faintly, the symbol of a promise between a human girl and an alien merchant. A promise that love, kindness, and courage could bridge any world. And as the ship vanished into the deep blue void, her words echoed softly through the comms, "Take my toys, alien. I'll pay you back in stars." The crew smiled, not fully understanding the words, but somewhere beyond the nebula, a faint golden signal blinked once more. The legacy of Rilna, the alien who saved a child, lived on. In her, in every world she would one day unite, and in every heart that dared to believe that even the smallest act of kindness could change the stars forever.